welcome to the Scent Bubble. I'm your host for the afternoon, and today we're going to talk about a fragrance from the house of Cartier. Stay tuned. All right, welcome to the Scent Bubble. Today, from the house of Cartier, we have Declaration Parfum. Now, up top, we're dealing with bitter orange, strictly. In the mid, we're dealing with spices, a kind of spice assortment. It doesn't list specifics. There is, however, a note of cumin alongside that. And in the base, we have a mix of cedar, vetiver, and leather and benzoin. I believe there's one other note I'm missing, but those are the predominant notes. Putting it to nose, this feels like a fragrance that almost borders a cross between kind of a sophisticated, very manly shaving cream that's very kind of like ambery, low-grade sweet. Again, that bitter orange is very bitter. It's not super sweet and citric. It's almost the outside of the rind. Well, no, it's a rind cut open. It's just not that juicy, not that sweet. I think the cumin in this situation counterbalances the orange pretty hard. And then in the base, being that you kind of have this very earthy vetiver and this leather note, I think the vetiver, leather, woody aspect, but more the leather, vetiver, cumin note palette really duffs off the orange. And so the orange just becomes this kind of slight brightness to very much rindy, sweet, woody, earthy type of fragrance. Again, a cross between kind of like a very rich but not very bright shaving cream, like Barbasol style, ambery. And a cross between that and like a very foresty green cedar type of rendition. I think this is a very manly fragrance. I think for men about 30 and up, this kind of makes you feel manly, but with a younger, bright touch, just due to the orange, as well as the vetiver component. It kind of freshens it up a bit. But this seems very dark, very manly. I think there is a charm to it. But again, when you see that bitter orange, don't think you're going to smell orange here. You are mostly going to smell a very leathery, earthy green, but mostly on the leather side of that, just kind of brightened up by earthiness with spices. Predominantly, that cumin note is very distinct, almost overbearing, but not quite. It's just a leading role in the script. And then that orange just kind of sweetens it up. You don't really get the oranginess of it, more like fruit rind, the kind of skin, the inside skin of the orange on day 2 or 3. So just a touch of sweetness, a touch of what appears to be somewhat citric, but not quite, kind of like an orange oil, so to speak. I don't think you can rock a fragrance like this 25 under, and I'm tempted to throw it in the 30 and up category, just because I think as a 25 to 30-year-old, there's not a lot of interest with this. I think this is only unique the older that you get, because it kind of is fougere, but fougere barbershop classy, but it is rich and layered and sophisticated in its kind of shaving cream forest vibe. But it's so duffed down and it's so rich. It's a fragrance that you have to get close to. If you're in kind of talking proximity with somebody, you'll definitely pick up all the nuance and layers that are going on within the fragrance. But I don't think this is going to be very projective, especially being that it's a parfum. The concentration just kind of hits a little bit different. You got to walk up to a fragrance like that. Again, and then just the idea of cumin. Younger men do deal with spices more in the holiday realm, your Noir Extreme, your spice bombs, things like that. But I think this spice leans on cumin so hard that it's kind of a non-youthful type of note. And again, that's just presumption on my part, but I think you guys can see my personality and how I walk through fragrance. It's a fairly accurate assessment. Yeah, I think due to the cumin and the leather, and then vetiver being more on the earthy, woody side of things, this is just very much a grown man fragrance. But again, if you're 30 and up, that's where I feel like a fragrance like this can have charm. This to me feels classy. This feels business. For a guy 40 and up, this could rock on a date night just due to the sweeter nature of its earthy take. You know, it's kind of got this leather grown man vibe. The touch of cumin spice provides some intrigue, but then that sweetness from the orange does kind of peer through, but it is alluring. It's a type of fragrance you got to draw next to, so that romantic vibe definitely fits the bill there. But I think this very much could be an inoffensive business scent that is mostly serious, slightly playful. Yeah, 25 and below just doesn't seem like it's going to cut it. I think this is probably a any season, any reason fragrance with a lean on shining best in cold climate. However, I do think it's just on the line creeping into, yeah, cold climate would make this shine the most, but it's kind of a little more playful, and because it's a parfum and it's so light, it's dense, but it's light, it can go any season, any reason, and rock in brighter weather. But if I was going to be outside in high heat, this would absolutely melt off of your skin and off of your clothes. So when I say that you can wear it in like a spring or summer, the weather should be lighter, or if it is around that climate, if you're indoors, it can still rock out. So again, business, semi-formal, older man date night. The younger you are, the more 25 to 35 that you are, I think it just becomes almost freshy with charm vibe, but in the classy arena. You know where I'm saying? You know, it's kind of like you wear this for a slightly serious occasion, or if you're in a serious occasion but want to come off more playful. Definitely feels businessy. Again, the fact that I likened it to shaving cream, it is more sophisticated than that. But when I get close to this, I immediately think kind of like a rich 30, 40-year-old man, Barbasol, maybe a slightly richer take. But the more you kind of get close to it and appreciate it, if you do appreciate that DNA, you can start to pick out the cumin. You can pick out the leather. You do get a sense of earthy green, earthy woody. The cedar isn't super zingy. The cedar is just tucked back as kind of like a bright woodiness. And then that sweetness of the orange does coat it all. It is in its arena sweet, but I think when you think about sweet fragrances at a 10, this sits more in the 4 to 5 range. Projection and longevity. I don't think this is highly projective, maybe a 4 or a 5 in terms of projection. Longevity at best, maybe a 5 out of 10. I would say this fragrance is going to be one that you spray 6 to 10 times, 6 to 10 sprays. If you're indoors strictly, I think 6 to 10 could go the distance, where by the time you get off your 8-hour shift, it's starting to just now die down. But if you're going outside or you're walking around, you're perspirating or you're aerating, you're going to need to go 10 sprays on this, and you might even have to reapply. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I think the longevity sits around 4 or 5. And in terms of hours, I think multi-use, it's going to be maybe a 4 to 5 hour fragrance, maybe even 3 to 5 in high heat. And in the best case scenario, you might get 5 to 6 hours of longevity, unless you're really caking this on. So definitely plan to bring a travel spray with you. Final thoughts on the fragrance. In this category of kind of smooth, slightly fougere, shaving creamy, upscale barbershop, manly man, maybe CEO. I don't think it's quite CEO. It's more suit and tie. It's soft. It has a softness to it. In the spicy category, woody, I think it's a classic, classy fragrance. However, I don't believe that it's a showstopper. It has a slight bit of uniqueness with the cumin leather combo and the slight sweetness from orange. You kind of have these polarizing concepts coming together and creating contrast. brashness from the leather, but the leather is softened because it's light. It's got more earthiness to it. It's brightened up by the vetiver. Cumin being more older manliness, you know, the sweetness from the orange being very seductive. And, you know, so there is some complexity in the older man category. I think for somebody maybe 40 and up, this could definitely be an any season, any reason signature scent. But again, once you go 25 to kind of 35-ish, it becomes a slightly above average fragrance that has mostly formal use, but some casual use, just depending on what you're going to use it for. But once you get into that point, you got to really be a fan of cumin to really any season, any reason this as a younger man. If you're south of 25, stay away from this fragrance. It's nothing special. If you're 25 to 30, this might be a fragrance you get if you're a fragrance collector and you want to kind of have a fragrance that's unique. The cumin orange leathery combo will give you a presentation that's probably not currently in your collection. So hope you guys appreciated this. Again, like, comment, and subscribe, but more importantly, check your notifications because we're dropping videos every morning. Sometimes it goes in the afternoon, just depending on how I feel for the day, but we're always about 10 to 20 episodes ahead of you guys on the release dates. So I'm always making sure episodes are queued up, and we're quite a way into my collection. I think we're maybe like 80 to 90 fragrances in on a 150 fragrance collection. So for those of you who aren't adapt to what's going on, I'm doing a singular review on all of my fragrances individually before we go into our top 10s, top 5s, top seasons, and our kind of game show topics that I haven't quite brought up yet on this channel. Again, thank you for rocking with me in the scent bubble. You guys have a blessed week. This is Cartier Declarations Parfum, and the price is kind of what you would normally find at your retailer for all of your fragrances. I'm gonna guess somewhere between, you know, $70 to $150, depending on what type of discounts and whatnot you guys get. Could be wrong about that. Who cares? Y'all have a great week. Peace.